Hey everyone, it's Kim Beegler, owner of Ewethful Fiber Farm and Mill, and I am here at the mill, in the very back of the mill, well not the very back, but mostly back, with some beautiful BFL East Frisian Cross wool that I dyed in the wool, this fabulous pink color, and this episode we're gonna run it, probably blend it with some silk, and run it through the picker and the carder to get some fiber for hand spinner. So welcome. If you're new, welcome. I own a wool mill. I talk a lot about wool, hand spinning, yarn, knitting, all of those things, and throw in farm life and all those things on top of it. And if you're coming back, thank you so much. I'm excited to see you and share some more wool. I always like to start my episode by saying the Ewethful community is an inclusive community, meaning that all sexes, all gender identities, all skin colors, all economic levels, all religions, all of us are equal. The list can go on, and we're all equal. We're all human and we all belong here. So that is the vibe in this community. If you're with me, hurrah, let's talk about wool. Okay, so this is from some of our girls. For those of you that are new, we have some Shetland sheep and we also have a couple East Frisian BFL sheep. And I dyed this, I'm gonna pull this out while I'm sitting here talking. I dyed this up for the spin to knit along that we're doing in Shetland, and we decided it wasn't quite the vibe for the kits. It was the vibe for some kits, but I didn't keep dyeing it. But I had a big call for people messaging me saying, is there any more of that pink left? Which there was not, it went quickly. And so I decided to dye up some of my other girls' fleeces in this pink. And so it's been dyed in lock structure. So what's the process, Kim? It's Sunday. I'm not usually here. This is my day of home spinning and doing all that stuff. So it was grown, then it was shorn, then it was, I did not do the shearing or the growing for that matter. I just oversaw it. And then it was skirted, it was washed. Actually, it was cold soaked, it was washed, it was dyed. And now we're here where it is, I gave it a rinse and spun it out. And now we're going to the drying rack. And I do have a little bit of it that is already dried up. So we'll pop over there and get this on the drying rack. Okay, my oh so fancy drying rack for all of the wool is here. And so I am just going to pop this on, and this is about 1.5 pounds, so I'll probably just split it between 2 levels here. And this drying rack has, it has a fan on top, but it does not have any, it doesn't have any heat to it. So it's just circulating air to make the drying process go a little bit faster. And then obviously there's some, it's just like an open mesh on the bottom so that air can circulate through and everything can dry a little bit faster. This time of year, it's incredibly humid in the building. So it'll take a little bit longer to dry, but honestly, if I put the fan on, it'll be dry tomorrow when I get here. And I usually will dry it for, I'm trying to make sure you guys actually can see what I'm doing. Yes. I'll put it on, I have a timer, so I'll probably put it on for about 8 hours. The fan will run. And then tomorrow when I get in, it should be ready to go through the picker. It might be a little bit, a smidge, we'll have picked up some of the humidity in the building from overnight. So I'll probably come in, pick out what is already dried from the other day, and then let this dry a little bit longer. And my plan is to blend this, I believe, with some silk, probably some reddish pink silk. And let me show you what's already dry. So you can see the top shelf here is already dried wool, so you can kind of see. And it does, you know, it lightens up a little bit, but it's going to be really fun. And let me see if I can find, you can see some nice crimp in there. They've got a really beautiful wool. There's some nice example there. So I am going to shut this up. I won't shut up, of course. I never do, but I'll shut this, turn my fan on, and that'll just run and it'll click off in about 8 hours. So I'll have some nice dry wool that we can get moving on. Okay, we are at the picker and I have got some kind of blend. It's a orangey pink reddish silk that I'm going to be adding to this pink. And I am doing 10%, which I believe is what I've got in this bin, which would be, so, and this is done by weight. So if we have 16 ounces in a pound, then you're looking for 1.6 ounces of silk, right? It's for 10%. So pretty easy how you do the math on this. And I'm gonna layer, as I usually do, I layer the silk on the bottom. And I have already weighed out that I have about a pound of fiber here. And so I have the 10% of silk there. So I've kind of got it weighed out. And then from there, it's roughly. And everything will get blended up when it gets into the carder. So easy peasy. And I dyed this fiber in the wool. So it's still in lock structure. So the picker is going to help open up the locks so that the carder's job is a little easier. And it's also going to do some blending, right? Because I'm putting the silk on the bottom of the intake belt, and then the fiber is going on top. And so it'll all get blended up. And there's big teeth here in the picker that will grab it, and it'll go through these rollers here, then it goes through a set of teeth, and that opens everything up. And this silk I got at an estate sale, actually. So it was in top form and braided and dyed that way. And really well dyed. I have never tried to dye silk in, well, I don't know if that's true. I don't think I have. I think I've usually broken it up and dyed it that way. And I haven't tried it this way, but I am intrigued to maybe try it once. Although I have to break it up at some point, so. Anyway, getting the dye through that top, I'm intrigued by. They did a nice job with it too. So anyway, you don't have to sit and watch me do all of this, do you? I don't know how long I can talk for, so I'm gonna let you see the other side, where it's coming out, and then I'll keep going and I'll show you when it's all picked out, and then it'll head to the carder. And I'm not going to condition this because it's still like over 60% humidity in here, which is plenty. I just finished up the mohair border luster from last episode, and it did just fine, no staticking issues. So, and that's why I would condition, is to help cut down on static. But if I don't have to do that step, and I think everything's gonna process well, then I'm not gonna do it, right? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and let you see the other side. Let's run over there. Well, I've got fiber on the carder here, and you can see it, coming out. Looking good, no static. No static to see. So I am going to finish running this, and then I'll let you see what it looks like. Okay, so up close and personal, here is the first bit of this plied up. And I'm gonna pull some out and I'll let you get up close, but wow, you can see how much that fluffed up. That is a great example of some fluffing. And still not much VM in this, really beautiful. And this is about a pound of fiber right here. I think there were about 2.5 pounds or so in this batch that I dyed up, and it'll go over to Patreon first. I think we're having a shop update this weekend is what I said. And if there's anything left, it'll end up on the website. So there it is. Isn't that gorgeous? That's gonna be beautiful stuff. Okay, onto the picker we shall go. Actually, first I was going to show you what that fiber looked like, that wool looks like coming out of the washer, because I've got that textile cross out. And here it is. I was just pulling it out while I was waiting for that to finish picking. Scan out a little bit and try not to hit you too bad on the way down. But here it is. It washed up really beautifully. It has a nice handle to it. And I'm not sure, I probably will dye it because I have a fair amount of it too, but it's really gorgeous. Really gorgeous. Here's some locks there. So, well done. Well done. Onward we shall go now. All right, I'm doing something I've never done before, and I hope that you all don't mind this because I think it'll help, but I'm actually going to do a product review on a hand massager. If you've been watching since the beginning, or for however long you've been watching, you know I never ever do this. But Bob and Brad reached out to me via email. Well, not Bob and Brad specifically, but they reached out, and they are physical therapists that have been on YouTube for a long time. Their channel has been on for a long time, and I actually had been following them. So I knew who they were when they emailed, gave a little bit of legitimacy to it because I ignore and delete a lot of messages from people trying to get me to review things or use things or et cetera, et cetera. And it's just not who I am necessarily, but this grabbed my attention because I love a good I love a good massage. And I am more and more as I get older and do all this repetitive motion of knitting and spinning and at the mill, my hands are definitely feeling it, and I have to stop a lot and do stretches and things like that. And especially one or two of my knuckles are starting to have some issues. So I thought, okay, I know they're legit. I reached out to my patrons over on Patreon and said, will you all think I have sold out completely if I do this? And they were like, try it, man. Let's see if it works, because if it helps, awesome. There is a 10% off code and link in my show notes. So go there if you are interested in it, because I do really think it helps. So this is what it is. And it's basically like a mitt you put on your hand. So I have found that using it when I get into bed is the best time, because you can use it for as long or as short as you want, really, but it runs for 15 minutes and then it times out. So I just let it run for the 15 minutes and then I switch. I'm going to turn it on right now. So it's got different massage modes, and then it also has different intensity adjustments. I'm going to turn it on, and it has a little bit of heat to it. So I'm going to turn the heat on because I always do. So you can adjust the massage modes. Let's see, it's vitality, relaxation, intensive, and then there's 5 intensity adjustments. I use the 3rd one. Mitch uses the 5 one because he started using it immediately after I did and was like, oh yeah. Because he does a lot of work on the machines and on the equipment on the farm, and his hands get really tired, and he injures them quite a bit, honestly, also. So, and his hand is a lot beefier than mine, just from having a lot more muscles, etc., in there, and doing a lot more manual torquing and things like that. His hand still fits in here. He said it just doesn't quite hit at his wrist, and it hits a little bit higher up, but he's an addict of this thing too. So we both absolutely love it. I will say I do think that my hands are bothering me less, and I don't use it every day. Maybe, I'm hoping you can hear it. It's pretty quiet. I sometimes will wake up and I hear Mitch has it on, but it doesn't keep me up. But it's just air pockets that fill and then they deflate, fill, deflate, and it moves all around in here, putting pressure and then relieving, pressure and relieving. And that's the intensity level. You can lower or higher the intensity level. It gets your wrist, which is something that I didn't realize was bothering me, but it is my absolute favorite part of it. And then there's just a little bit of heat. So I tend to use it right when I'm going to bed because I have a hard time not making things while I'm awake. So I just get in bed, pop my hand in, let it run for 15 minutes, turn it off, it'll turn off, and then pop my other hand in, and then Mitch will steal it from me and do the same thing. We love it. I mean, if you love getting massages, I think you can't go wrong. And I do, overall, I think my hands feel better. I really do. And when I take my hand out after 15 minutes, I can feel how much looser it is from the other one. And I would not tell you all this if I didn't feel this way, because I actually asked them, what if I don't like it? And they said, just send it back. So I felt good about that, because I'm not going to review something that, I can review it if I didn't like it, but I was really hoping to like it, and I do. So I'm going to turn this off. I'll let you listen one more time. That's it, releasing the air. Okay, so it has this little bag. I just put it in the bag by my bed. And then it also came with this sweet little bonus, which is like a finger massager. And it's pretty sweet too. You have to do a little more work, but especially on this finger where my joint tends to bother me a little bit more, it's not a bad thing. And it comes with some gloves, and it comes with a little, like we all have the things that it can, you know, plug into. So it just recharges. Mitch and I will both do it at night though, and it still has charge in the morning. We tend to charge it just because, you know, in case, but I really like it. So if you are interested in it, there is a 10% off coupon code in, I think it's 10%. I say that, and if not, I'll put it up here, but I just really like it. So if you are having any hand issues, it might be worth trying. I mean, if nothing else, dang, it feels good when you stick your hand in there. And it's also kind of a cue for me now, like it's time to relax. I can't do anything else. So Bob and Brad, loving it. Check it out. Link in my show notes. Okay, that was new for me. Moving on. I think we're heading back to the Carter right now. Maybe. Somewhere in the mill. All right, we are at the washer and I'm trying to get a good view for you. You don't need to see me. So this is a bag that I can't get open, so that's gonna make it very exciting watching. Anyway, this is a Texel cross, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like before so there it is. And staple length is actually, yes, nice. So there's our staple length, actually longer than I thought. Probably, you know, I'd say 3 to 4 inches, probably 4 inches easily. So this is from, if you watched fairly recently, I showed you that I had met up with one of my shears and I didn't realize how much wool that she had for me. She said she had filled up some stuff, but I didn't really realize. But when I met up with her, she had filled up the whole back of her truck, basically with, she said she'd emptied her wool barn. And so she grows she mainly grows Rommeldales, and then she grows dairy sheep. And she's growing them, I think for me, this is really beautiful. I'm guessing this is a lamb fleece. And anyway, it's a beautiful fleece. I love Texel. And so this is probably, who knows what it's crossed with. I would guess some type of Leicester. But you just, you know, who knows. So anyway, it's going to wash up really well. It's going to take dye really well. It may end up being, and for those of you that are listening, I'm just standing at the washer and opening up the wool and dropping it into the scouring machine here. And it may end up being more of that pink because we're gonna head next to pick out that pink, and I have some silk set aside with it, and I have a feeling it's gonna go pretty quickly. I could be wrong, but I feel like it's gonna go pretty quickly once it gets to Patreon. So I may end up doing a little bit more, and we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so I'm not gonna make you watch all of this, but I'll show you once I get some water in here. And I already did some light skirting. The nice thing is these fleeces, they're out on pasture, and so there's like 0 VM in these. Here's a spot that I'm gonna pull just because of those pretty mucky tips, and it's actually a little bit, probably it would be washed up fine, but compared to the rest of the fleece, I might as well just pull it out. So anyway, I will let you see when this is soaking in water, and then we'll move on to the picker. Hurrah. Okay, we are beeping, so I thought I'd let you see what this looks like. And I should mention I did not cold soak this because I just didn't feel like it needed it. So here we are. I'm just gonna go in and turn the wool over basically so that we make sure everything, and I'm, you know, nice and gentle, just doing a flip. I'll do this one more time, like halfway through, just to make sure that soap and water is getting through all of it. But that looks great. There's like barely any dirt. So no need to cold soak this one. Hurrah! Onward! All right, farm visit for this week is the pigs, Johnny and Frankie. So they just had breakfast, and I walked in, and this is the two of them. What you talking about, Frankie? It's a rough life, isn't it? A post-breakfast nap. All right, well, there's our visit with them. Nobody's gonna wake up. Okay, we are at the carder with that. This is our East Frisian BFL cross and blended up with some silk. And whenever you're blending, like, just remember that a little bit can go a long way and it will pretty drastically change, especially if you're doing like a wool with silk or mohair. You know, 10% is gonna make a huge difference in your finished yarn. So you don't have to, especially because a lot of those fibers tend to be more expensive depending on, you know, what wool you have and what other fibers you're getting, but a little bit will go a long way in changing some of the properties in your finished yarn. So you don't have to go super crazy. I'm gonna turn the carder on here. We're gonna turn it on. Oh, it is on. It is on, and then on, so we can get this started because it's the very beginning. And anyway, you don't need a lot. You know, a little bit, this is about 10% is kind of my happy place on silk. This is a tussa silk. Mohair, you know, 20%. Obviously you can do a lot more, but if you're just trying to add a specific value to a wool, you don't have to do much. Silk and oil, flashing, all that stuff, a little goes a long way. And some of it, you have to remember, isn't necessarily going to add softness, like flashing or that sparkle. That is not necessarily going to be soft. So if you put a lot of it in, you're not going to have the softest yarn ever. So let's go over to the other side because I think we are there. It's coming out. Whoa. My camera just did something crazy. So you can see it's coming out. So in a sec here, I'm gonna let it do a little bit more. See if I can grab that. We'll grab what's on the ground, which you can't see, but I'm gonna throw it back in and we'll recard it. And now I'll pull out so you can see again as I get the roving deck loaded up to go. I'll keep this in, but I'm just putting this little metal feed through here, which is, oops, and I just cleaned off the rollers of my roving deck and some of it got stuck. Okay, so I'm just feeding this through. It has a hook on it. We'll hook the fiber to the hook and then we'll be ready to rock and roll. So I'll let you come down all the way to the bottom here. And, well, as bottom as I can get you. Probably not super. How about right there? Let's try that angle. See if that'll let you see what I'm doing. Maybe, maybe not. But you can see, so you're looking in the side now. I think it might block it when I actually get up there to do it. And I have to be able to do my magic. But I'm just wrapping the fiber around this tiny hook that's on that metal. And then we'll get everything loaded up here. We shut this. We put our band on so that everything is connected and we can get our roving out. I thought about doing bats on this. The reality is that I just really like the roving. The majority of people voted for roving. I think I asked in Patreon. Roving was the winning one. And you know, it's something that this machine does really well that not all people that make fiber for hand spinners do. Here we go. Ooh, so pretty. Now that is like bubblegum flamingo pink. There it is coming out. And we'll go around the other side and watch it coming in here. You can see kind of the different shades. That's throwing off the color with the light, but you saw that the other color on the other end was much more true. And here we go, into the carder. Okay, we'll take a peek at the end one more time. But I gotta get it into a bin. And this will go up onto Patreon first. They'll have first access to it. And then if there's any left, it'll end up on the website. So get on the newsletter. Okay, everyone, it's time to do a little spinning. I have got that pink here. I wanted to show real quick. So we started our spin to knit along last Saturday. We had the kickoff. If you missed it, you can still jump in anytime. We're giving 6 weeks to spin and knit. Basically, our aim is by New Year's Day that we are done. So about 3 weeks to spin, about 3 weeks to knit. And I did a kickoff here on YouTube. It's if you go into the live section or maybe recent videos that I've done, there will be a recording of it. And I talk about tools to use for if you're trying to spin to a certain weight, different adjustments you can make to your wheel. So it's all in there and lots of great information. Because this is a little outside my wheelhouse also to spin to knit. I usually spin and then find something to knit versus spinning to a pattern. So this is my sample. I'm going to pop up and show you real quick. So this is my sample. We are trying for look at Wish, she's so funny. We are trying for a 2-ply fingering weight yarn, and this is mine. So I spun it, plied it, tested my singles on a gauge to see if I was in the right place, felt comfortable, spun the sample. This is under an ounce, and I got about 65 yards or so. And I've soaked it. There's Wish. Of course, the second I get up, and now we're ready to go because it came in at a fingering. This is Shetland. I just used some leftovers, so it's 2 different colors. One of the tools I use shows you, and I don't have it with me, but it's got markers for measuring your singles so that you can then come up with how many wraps per inch will be correct for your finished yarn. Go to that video. It was from last week and it's in the lives because we were live. So you can watch that and it shows you the tools. I have them on my website. I know Debbie, I think, mentioned that she spun her sample and then it was undyed. And then she was spinning some that was dyed of the fiber and it was spinning up a little bit different. And it could be the dyed, it could be just that the fleeces were a little bit different. Even though they're all Shetlands, they may spin up differently, and a lot of the different batches were different fleeces. So when that happens, basically, if you've spun your sample and you're spinning the same type of wool and it's pretty similar, then I use the gauge to say, okay, as I'm spinning my single, is it still coming out the same size as the single in my sample? And if not, because the fiber is just a smidge different, then make the adjustment to get that single to the same size. And this tool gauge works really well for that. So go ahead and find it. Back in the lives. It's only a half-hour video, but there's so much good information in there. And it starts, the beginning is a live. So anyway, that's my recommendation for that. So if you're spinning 2 completely different fibers, then that's probably not going to work because when you go to set the yarn, the blooms could be very, very different. But if you know you're working with Shetlands that are pretty similar, then if you just make the adjustments to make sure your single is the same weight as your other single, I think it'll work out fine. And of course it's hand spun, so it's not going to be 100% perfect unless you want it to be, and then there you go. So here's my sample. I am ready to start spinning. I haven't even picked out my colors yet, and we're already almost a week in, but I know for sure I'm going to do some of the Moritz, so I'm going to start spinning that. Okay, and you can still join in. There is a Ravelry chat going on, so head to Ewethful and go into the community and you can find that, and that's a place to post pictures and to chat along about what you're working on. There's also in Patreon, we have a chat going in there, so there's lots of places to stay active regardless of where you are. Okay, I am going to start spinning this, and I'm going to ask Wish to not poke her fingernails on my jeans that I love. I just trimmed them so they're not getting good. So we're on the Lendrum, and we are going to put, this is the East Frisian And also I'll just send out a reminder while I'm sitting here that I am teaching a drop spindle class this Saturday here at the mill. There is one spot left as of this moment. So if anybody is in the area, it's 11 to 2 on Saturday, and you can sign up online. There's one spot left and you don't need to have anything. You just show up. I'll have spindles for you and you'll take the spindle home. There will be fiber, and you'll take some fiber home. And so that'll be fun. Okay, here we are spinning. I should say that in my sample, I'm spinning my spin to knit along on the dataless e-spinner because I don't use it enough. And I notice my wheel is very loose. Not sure what's going on there. I'm gonna have to do some tightening. Interesting. Anyway, it's still spinning just fine, but for some reason it's popping a little bit. Okay, so I did spin my sample short forward because I just don't enjoy long draw as much on an e-spinner. So, and it's kind of my place to spin short forward, which I don't do very often. So mine is short forward. A lot less loft potentially when I set the yarn is one thing about short forward, because you're kind of pulling a lot of the air out when you spin short forward. This yarn is so pretty. So here it is. I'm spinning this long draw. It's spinning up dreamy. It's gonna spin into a thinner yarn because that silk is really going to want to spin into a thinner yarn. And it's just a bubblegum flamingo pink beauty. I'll show you all in a minute. In the meantime, let's just do a quick soapbox. I don't have a whole lot. I mean, there's a whole lot I could soapbox about, right? We're getting into maybe the release of the Epstein files. The president did sign saying to release the files, but I think there's a lot of question about whether we're actually going to get all the files. Because there's so many reasons that they've already come up with for reasons that some things won't be able to be released. So I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in getting all the answers that everybody's looking for. But one of the things that is striking me right now as we head into the holiday season, right? Because next week is Thanksgiving here in the US, and then starts like the insane shopping. Although I think a lot of people are on tighter budgets this year. So I don't know how insane the shopping will be, because the economy is not all that, regardless of what the administration is trying to tell us. And I was just listening, I've been listening to last week's weekly show podcast with Jon Stewart, so that's his audio podcast. He had Lena Khan on, and she is on Mamdani's transition team in New York, and she also used to head the FTC. And it was really fascinating. I'm not quite done yet, but they're talking about just like just a lot of ideas about what's going on with the new mayor-elect and what he's trying to accomplish there in New York City, and also just about how are there points where the government could offer services that would help some markets be more competitive and work for the American people. And one of the examples was that the federal government put out a way that you could file your taxes online, and it did all the work and stuff similar to like TurboTax or going in and getting your taxes done, which there have been a lot of controversy over some of the fairness practices and stuff in some of those different outlets of tax prep. I'm not saying TurboTax necessarily, but in that arena, there have been some issues. And so the federal government put out this new app. I think it started last year, they said, and it worked like a breeze, and it was free. So people could go in, file their taxes, get all the questions answered, get all the deductions, and it was free. And this administration canceled it. And besides that not being shocking, right? Something free for everybody that works. The idea being that it puts up a bit of a competition to some of these big companies, and it also allows for a free service so that everybody could have access to it and not have to pay. And it's kind of the same idea with lots of big companies, big corporations. We obviously are quite aware now that billionaires are running a lot of things right now, and a lot of what's happening and not just in this administration, but in previous administrations too, has been to benefit big business, right? And meanwhile, all of us, the rest of us, are not getting the benefits that we have paid taxes into and that we deserve. So really what, besides it being fascinating, and I will put a link in the show notes so that you can listen to it, it's a really interesting conversation. It always brings me back to, if you financially can, and especially as we go into the holiday season and buying, support smaller business. And so putting your money in places that make a big difference, because one way, and I've talked about this before, but one way that we have a big impact is with our money and where we choose to spend it. So I guess my soapbox is just sort of leading into, as we come into this high spending season, if you are able to do that, try as best you can to send the message that you're not supporting all these big companies. If we are angry that billionaires are accruing more wealth, meanwhile, the average person isn't even able to afford health benefits, at some point, we as citizens have to also say, we're going to stop supporting these companies that are doing this. And this obviously cannot apply to everybody, because these big businesses have made a lot of things more affordable and not necessarily, they haven't necessarily done it, what's the word I'm looking for equality purposes. It's actually to screw a lot of small businesses is what ends up happening. So as we go into this season, as much as you can financially, maybe try to think about trying to buy some of those purchases from a small business versus a big business. And that is a way that we have power. And we have look at what it's done to Target. People choosing not to shop at Target has made a big difference for Target, and they're struggling. And so we can do that all the time. It doesn't just have to be one movement. And as an individual, you can make that decision. So that's sort of my soapbox as we go into the holiday season, is just be mindful and use your money as your voice wherever you can. Okay, I want you to see this yarn. See, I stopped, but I did pretty good. I got a nice sample on here. It's spinning up lovely. I really don't have to do a whole lot to it. So that is great. And again, this is the East Frisian East Frisian BFL cross. Woo! I just sold some East Frisian Romney cross. That's why I have got that in my brain. And I'm spinning it long draw here. Nice loose hands, letting the wheel do the work. And I'm gonna stop and show you all what this looks like. And it's getting a little dark in here, but this is pretty poppy, so I don't think you're gonna have any problem seeing what it looks like. There's Wishy. Oops, sorry you all. There it is. So pretty. Trying not to cast a shadow on it, but it's gonna have a nice sheen to it from that silk. And well, it's just gorgeous. So, okay, I'm gonna sit back down and we'll say our goodbyes, hopefully without cutting my head off. I'm gonna go back a little bit extra so that I don't cut my head off in the process. As fun as that is when I film and cut my head off. Okay, so everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Bright Pink Joy. Wish would like to say thank you also. Thank you for your support. To all my patrons, thank you so much for putting in the extra and being able to support what I do here. If you are looking for a wonderful fiber community online, jump over to Patreon. There's a link in the show notes, and it supports all the filming and education that I do here on YouTube. And it's also just a great place to be. And you get early access to fiber, and they are having a shop update this weekend. So I think on Sunday I said there will be a shop update with some of the leftover Shetland and some other stuff that has come off, including this pink. So thank you all so much. Get on my newsletter. If nothing else, get there. Okay, everybody, until next week, stay healthy. Be kind to your neighbor. We don't know everybody's story. We're all in this together. Let's not fight against each other. Let's fight for each other. And finally, make so many pretty things, because the world needs more beauty and we all need more creativity in our life. So thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Feel free to comment below, ask questions, and everybody take care until I see you soon. Thank you.